What's up, everybody? Welcome in to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering, on the road and in the air and around the world. Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. It is September already, Kyle, mid-September, and we're talking championships. We've got big races on the docket. Of course, some big races already that have happened in the last week. We've had drama in the NASCAR Cup Series between teammates. We had ARCA, first-time winner. We had so much to talk about, and of course, we have a first-timer making a Truck Series debut this weekend out at Bristol, where you are right now, or just outside of Bristol, in Carson Kvapil. He's joining me on the show in a little bit. So lots to get to, but K-Rick, how was your week at Stafford? And it seems like you've had a little bit of some travel issues already today going to Bristol. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you mentioned that you will talk to Kvapil here in just a few moments, and unfortunately, I was dealing with travel issues when that interview took place, but we're good now here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, except for a doubleheader Thursday night for the Motor Racing Network, the ARCA Series, the ARCA East Series will crown a champion. You talked about Stafford, or asked about Stafford. Mother Nature has not been kind to Stafford, as it has rained in the Northeast for every day for about the last week or so, since last Thursday. So we have not run, but we still have the big Napa Fall Final coming up here next weekend. So we'll still a lot of racing to go, but Mother Nature has not helped us here in 2023.
Plenty of time for Kyle to hit Mohegan Sun, so at least he's not bored. So good for him.
Right.
Good stuff, Kyle. All right, let's get into it, the week that was, and we'll start out with ARCA Series, the Sioux Chief Fast Track 150 at Kansas. I was on the property there with the Motor Racing Network, and we had a first-time winner in Connor Mosack driving the Joe Gibbs Racing number 18. It's been a long time coming for him as a driver that's made some starts here and there. He's had some opportunities to win. Things just didn't work out, but if you're going to win one, Kyle, in dominating fashion is what Connor did, because he led 64 laps and lapped everybody up to second place in that victory.
Yeah. I was going to say, just about lap the field. It would have been amazing, though, to see what Jesse Love would have had for him if it wasn't for his early race trouble, and then see if Jesse had what he needed to get win number 10. But congratulations to Connor, a great run there. Also a great run for Tony Breidinger, getting on the podium for the first time with a career best third. So good run for her. I know she was just added, I think, to the entry list this weekend at the Bristol Motor Speedway for Thursday night's race. So yeah, a lot of good performances. And Jesse Love, I think, his worst finish of the year with that early race incident, but yet still has an incredible point lead of over 100 points.
He does, but I know Jesse's a competitor. He wanted to win number 10. He wanted to get to double digits, two hands, but he still can. That's right. He has an opportunity again here this weekend or on Thursday at Bristol, as they have a couple more races in the National Series schedule before they wrap up their season. Shout out to LeVar Scott, too. Went a lap down early, rallied all the way back to a fourth-place finish. And to our guest of the week here this week, Carson Kvapil made his debut for Pinnacle Racing Group, the third driver to make their debut and finish in the top two for that young race team. That says something, what Shane Huffman's got going on over there at Pinnacle Racing Group, finishing second. Maybe had a shot if we had a late caution, but Connor Mosack was gone. So congratulations to Connor, winner at Kansas. Speaking of Jesse Love, Kyle, he did run in the Craftsman Truck Series race at Kansas just about an hour after the checkered flag fell for the ARCA race, a ninth-place finish with Tricon Garage. So far, so good. 2 starts, 2 top 10s, Kyle. I think maybe some news could break later this year. He could go full-time Truck Series racing.
Yeah, no doubt. He has what it takes. He has the ability, obviously has the equipment with the first 2 events. Had the best seat in the house for all the action that happened in front of him as they raced 3 and 4 wide over the last couple laps of that race. He was kind of right in the middle of it toward the back half of that lead pack, but good run, stayed out of trouble. Feels like he's adapting nicely to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in just 2 starts.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what is left on his slate. Now, going over to the modifieds, we had another great race with the Monadnock Speedways, the backdrop for that one with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Justin Bonsignore dominated the race and really needed that one, Kyle, in terms of adding himself to that championship chatter when it comes to the end of the year, closing the gap again on Ron Silk. What did you think of Bonsignore's win? It was dominant, but I think a bigger story was the race within the race for the Granite State Cup and Doug Kobe, an emotional championship for that matter, because Tommy Baldwin was in the house. First time we've seen him at the track since being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, his cancer fight continues and is going well, apparently. He was at the racetrack. And you would, if you didn't know that, he was ill, you wouldn't have never known. He was wrenching on the car and they ran well. They picked up the Granite State Championship, which is, we should explain what this is to our viewers, a 3-race series of the short tracks in New Hampshire, Monadnock being the anchor of those racetracks. Claremont also, I think, is a part of it. All the races in the Granite State, not at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Doug scored the most points in those 3 events, so he is crowned the champion. It's a great promotion that Josh Pineda does, and I think this is year number 3 for that promotion to add a little incentive for those northern New England racetracks and to attract more teams from southern New England. And they did just that. And congratulations to Josh. And also on Josh's announcement that he and his group will promote the Monadnock Speedway full-time next year, and it will be back under the NASCAR sanction for the first time in, I believe, 3 seasons. So a lot of things happened at Monadnock the other night. Ron Silk getting caught up in that big incident on the very first lap, and that's where Justin was able to gain a lot of those points back to make it a really close championship battle here heading into the home stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot going on at Monadnock. Congratulations again to Justin. His 5th win at the racetrack puts him back in that championship title conversation. Let's go to the Cars Tour real quick. Brendan Queen, if you didn't get to see the highlights, check it out on Flow Racing, because Butterbean had her literally dead sideways at the finish for another Cars Tour thriller. It just seems like every week, Kyle, the late model stock series puts on a heck of a show, and they did so again as he held off Ronnie Bassett Jr. out at New River this weekend.
Fairly tame race until the last, 5 or 6 laps or so, and they really got going at it for the race lead, especially on the last lap. Brendan Queen, he's been strong all year, no matter where he races, and was able to hold off Bassett there on the final lap, and a great move coming to the checkered flag to pick up the win.
So congratulations to Brendan Queen. Of course, Carson Kvapil is still your Cars Tour points leader with 5 victories on the year. Now, speaking of victories and championships, let's give a quick shout out to Evan Shotko, who closed out a dominant Berlin Raceway Championship run with a win and championship night over the weekend. Kyle, we talked about a lot about it this week, or this year, I should say. Berlin just continues to impress, and shout out to Jeff Striegel, the general manager over there, and our Motor Racing Network co-anchor of Cup Series broadcasts. Just every week they put on a heck of a show. I know he's a little down in the dumps because the season's over, but for Evan Shotko to put a bow tie on that championship run, pretty impressive what he's been able to do this year.
It was strong from opening day. Their icebreaker event back in late April, I believe, is when they opened their season. He's been strong all summer. A great field of cars each and every week at Berlin Raceway whenever they run. Congratulations, like you mentioned, to Jeff Striegel. I know it was a very busy summer for Jeff, not only traveling with us on the road to all of our NASCAR Cup events as our anchor, but also running Berlin Raceway in a season that saw the SRX Series go there, all of his big midweek shows. The Super Modifieds were back there again for a 2nd consecutive year. So a lot happened in a relatively short amount of time. And you think it's only the first week of September and they've already buttoned up their season. But congratulations to everybody involved in what appears to be a very successful season at Berlin.
Absolutely. Cannot wait already for 2024 up there in Michigan. Before we get to our guest, Kyle, let's talk about Carson Kvapil and the opportunity he has ahead with Spire Motorsports making his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut at Bristol. Kind of fitting, right? A Kvapil Craftsman Truck Series. Suddenly I'm getting transported back to the early 2000s, but here we are, the next one to make their debut, and Carson's a wheelman when it comes to wheeling a late model. What do you think can he do in the truck here coming up on Thursday night?
I give it a top 5 run. That Spire Motorsports truck, I know we talked about it last week, is strong everywhere it goes, and especially on the short tracks. Carson's a short tracker, comes from a short track family. I think when I started with the network, I hate to say it, but like 20 years ago, his father, Travis, was on top of the world in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, winning a championship and doing so well, winning so many events. So pretty cool to see the second generation or the next generation come up and going to shine bright in the spotlight here at the Bristol Motor Speedway this week in the Truck Series.
Well, I'll have to ask him about it, because coming up next, we've got our interview with Carson Kvapil. Joined me on the phone earlier this afternoon, so we'll play that for you on the flip side of this break, and we'll dive into everything Bristol, ARCA, and of course his late model stock season, trying to go back-to-back in the Cars Late Model Stock Tour Championship. That's all coming up next here on the flip side of the break on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelen products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
By Whelen Engineering. Joining us on the phone, it is the driver of the Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, making his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut this weekend at Bristol. It is Carson Kvapil. Carson, what's up, man? It's a big week for you. I know it was really a big 2 weeks after making your ARCA Series debut last week at Kansas. Let's talk about the truck opportunity. How did this all come to be? Obviously, you've been a part of the JRM stable in the late model stock, but when did the call come, or when did the talk start to happen about running a truck here at Bristol?
I'd say it started probably about a month ago. Just kind of trying to figure out what I can do to get some experience in upper level stuff before next year. So running the late model, get some wins, and running really good this year and last year kind of got us to the point where it was with Junior Motorsports. It kind of got to the point where it was wanting to get me approved to run bigger tracks and some experience with some bigger cars. So running the ARCA race, fortunately, went really well. Kind of got me acclimated to some bigger track type stuff compared to what I'm used to late model wise and stuff like that. So that was a big race for me. Well, I feel like I learned a lot, and then to have the shot to drive this Spire number 7 it's been really awesome, and I can't wait till we get on track, and hopefully we're contended for a win, but at least just want to finish all the laps and get some good experience in.
Before we talk Bristol, let's talk Kansas with the ARCA Series program. Obviously, jumping into an ARCA car, there's not really a big opportunity to learn prior to as far as sim and things like that. So what was the biggest adjustment coming from a late model stock to an ARCA car?
Yeah, I'd say driving wise, they weren't completely different by any means. The difference was just the speed. The biggest place we run these late models are probably about a 5/8 mile. Probably Wilkesboro is probably the biggest place we go. So going to a mile and a half with something like a late model was quite the eye opener for me, I guess. Being on the radial tire was different too, but mainly just the speed and the size. But in the race especially, it was really aero dependent. Something that we feel in the late models at most tracks, but is never really a huge thing. Whereas the ARCA car, when you're going so fast like that, it's just air is huge. So I feel like I learned a bunch about how to race with air, and I'm hoping to get some more opportunities to run some more big track stuff like that. But I thought it went really well, and finishing second, I didn't think it was too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all for sure. Now I know going into that, drivers have different expectations. I would say you probably at least met, if not exceeded those expectations. But what was it like working with, the Huffman and the Pinnacle Racing Group? Because it seems like anybody who's hopped in behind the wheel of that car has been really good this year for a first-time team.
Yeah, working with Shane and all the guys over there was really awesome. Some really good guys, real short track racers. So to be able to be with those guys and have the speed we had it was pretty cool. I thought we fired off in practice really fast for a team that has actually never been to a mile and a half. So fortunately, Shane worked in the past. I think won a race there before in an ARCA car. So having his experience really helped, and I could lean on him and lean on a few other people that knew a lot more about that type of racing than me. But yeah, those guys, they prepare really good cars each week, and I think the few drivers that they have are pretty good. So I think they get good feedback, I guess you could say, from Fenhaus and Sawalich. So it's a well organized team, and they're gonna have great success for sure in the future.
So a big 2 weeks, but leading into this kind of month, it's been a busy time in the Cars Late Model Stock Tour. Obviously, defending champion, you're leading the points again with several wins this year. How would you assess your late model season up to this point as you contend to go back to back?
Yeah, I would say so far. I mean, really, I think we've exceeded exceeded last year's results in a way. Going into this season from last season, really, obviously, I wanted to defend the championship, and I think we're doing a pretty good job as a team doing that. But I also one of those things I wanted to do was win more races than I did last year, and so far we've exceeded that already by one. So so far the season's been good. I'm happy. We've been having good consistent finishes like normal, but so far we've got 5 wins and I think 4 poles. So we've been having a really good year, and looking to close out the season, and hopefully from here on out we have some good finishes and obviously a few more wins.
And those are some impressive stats, especially because I feel like even between last year and this year, the level of competition in the Cars Tour has just risen. What is it like now to run the Cars Tour schedule, and just the heightened level of not only eyeballs on the sport because of the new ownership group and things like that, but just the level of competition this year it seems to be at an all-time high?
Yeah, you're right for sure there. I mean, to me, the Cars Tour last year, the year before, for a few years now, to me, it's been the most competitive, especially around the East Coast touring series there is. Just the amount of cars you get. I think the lowest we've had is 20 so far this season, and there's at least 10, maybe 15 guys that you can count in to win each week. So it's definitely the hardest series I've been a part of. So competitive, and the teams around us are just there's nothing left to get on equipment or anything like that. So once you get the car right, which everybody's is, it kind of all comes down to the whole team really. I mean, you can have a driver and win, but really to win in the Cars Tour, at least consistently, you need to have a whole team that's legit and that can do it week to week. So I think it's really awesome series, and it's only going to get tougher for the next few years, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And now a couple years into the JRM program, Carson, just how much have you learned from Dale, the support he's given you, and Kelly and everybody over there, LW, but also the fact that, you're kind of the next guy. If you look at what Josh Berry's been able to do, and now he's going to go cup racing next year, how special is it to be kind of that next group or that next guy that's going to go through the program? And obviously now with running a truck and the sky's the limit for next year, how important is that to kind of be with that group and to have that foundation?
Yeah, it's really, really huge. I mean, coming from my dad's super late model team with really no hired help, coming from that to JRM was a big step up really for me on and off the track. I had to learn a lot of things, and feel like I've gotten to the point where I feel settled into this place and pretty well acclimated and comfortable. But yeah, I mean, it's super exciting seeing what Josh was able to do with his career, and seeing where he came from. It's pretty cool, really. Yeah, that's someone you want to root for whenever you were in the same boat, or you are in the same boat as he was at one time. So seeing Josh's success has been it's been really good for the team, and I think it's been good for my career in the future. Just kind of showing everybody that the late model guy can come in there and win races and get moved up pretty quick. So hopefully that's the same route I'm on, which that would be awesome. But right now I'm happy running these late models. These things are fun, but also super excited to get into HinderCars.com 7 this weekend.
Yeah, so far so good as far as your career for sure. All right, let's talk about Bristol. Not only Bristol is a special place, but I know it's a special place for the Kvapil name, right? Like your dad was a part of many great races there. How important, I guess, or was it more coincidental that you're going to make your debut there, knowing the history that your family has there?
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. It's pretty cool, really. I think 20 years ago, my dad won the Truck Series race there, so that's just kind of cool. Obviously, didn't plan for that or anything, but I'm going to lean on him a bunch for sure. I'm sure there's already been a bunch of people I've leaned on for some advice and stuff like that, but he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be there kind of at the racetrack the whole time. So that'll be pretty cool to have him there after all the experience he has in these trucks. Even though they've changed a little bit over the years, still any experience, especially good experience that he had, is better than none. So I'll be leaning on him all day probably. So hopefully he can guide me to the front. I guess we'll just have to see though.
Yeah, absolutely. What kind of preparation do you do? I guess obviously now with the truck, there's some sim opportunities and things like that, but what have you been doing as far as the work behind the scenes as you get set to head down there this weekend?
Yeah, like you said, the sim work is probably the biggest thing. Fortunately, I'm able to go to the GM Tech Center in Concord to get on the simulator there, and me, Andrew, and Bono have gotten 2 sessions in, so
Okay.
I feel like I've gotten a solid amount of laps. Really, we've tried some stuff, made some changes to the truck, and mainly just obviously focused on getting me up to speed and getting me laps just to figure the place out before we go there Thursday. So I think that sim work's really a big help, considering there's not a lot of practice nowadays for the races. So I think we get 35 minutes or something like that split into 2 groups. So to be able to be on the sim for a handful of hours just kind of gets you up to speed whenever you get to the track right away. So I just can't thank those guys enough for getting me time on the rig and getting me prepared for this race.
Expectations for Thursday, do you set any, or do you mainly just focus on just kind of one session at a time?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really have expectations. Obviously I know that the truck and that whole team, they're really smart, and they've won races in the past and even this season. So I know that the truck's going to be good. I think it's just going to come down to me trying to figure it out in the short amount of time. And I don't know. You never know. All those guys in the Truck Series, it's really competitive. A lot of guys that are really fast with some really good teams. So I can't expect too much, but as long as I don't completely mess it up, I think we'll come out of there with a decent finish and a lot of valuable experience gained.
Absolutely. Now, before we let you go, I know this is a lot going on the last couple weeks, and looking toward the future. What kind of doors does this potentially open as far as 2024 looks like? Do you kind of know at least an outline what you want to do, or what's I guess on the table already, or maybe in the works, or not yet?
Honestly, it's just kind of week by week, really, or month by month, whatever you want to say. I'm just running these late models here with JRM, so that kind of keeps me busy. But I don't know. You never know. It's always changing. So
Sure.
I don't know. I'm happy to get this far, honestly. Obviously, next year I'd like to keep running the late model, but maybe even get a few more truck starts or Xfinity starts, ARCA starts, really anything to give me some more laps in the upper series. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see what next season brings, but we're super excited for this weekend, and just can't thank everybody enough. Everyone at Junior Motorsports, Dale, Kelly, LW. Just this opportunity is awesome, and I can't thank all the Spire guys for working with me enough. Andrew, Bono, Gricci, all the guys at the shop. I'm really excited to go trucking with them this week, and hopefully we come out there with a pretty good finish.
Well, we can't wait to watch. Of course, that race will also be on the airwaves of MRN, and wish you the best, Carson. It's pretty cool to see a Millbridge kid from just up the road here get to make a National Series debut, so wishing the best for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it. That's Carson Kvapil going to make his Truck Series debut again for Spire Motorsports coming up on Thursday night at Bristol Motor Speedway. Coming up next, the calendar and some news and notes before we let you go here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Wheelin' Engineering.
Wheelin' Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Wheelin' products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Wheelin' Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Wheelin' Engineering. Thanks to Carson Kvapil for joining me. Great conversation, certainly best of luck. And like Kyle said, I think a top 5 is certainly doable. That truck's ran so well no matter who's been in it. Obviously, it's been to victory lane before. But Kyle, you look at what Lane Riggs did, another short track racer earlier this year at IRP. I mean, he's got an opportunity to make some noise here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A huge opportunity in front of a lot of people. Obviously, it's a big weekend here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Everybody's in town, and no doubt everybody will have their eyes on him, especially because, his last name is Kvapil, and that family has found so much success in this series in the past. And, in short track racing down here in the South over the last several years.
Of course, you can hear, I'm sure, from Carson Kvapil on the pre-race show for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series event on the Motor Racing Network. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time is the airtime for that race. All right, some news and notes really quick before we get to the race schedule this weekend. The NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly National Championship coming down to the wire, and I think, Kyle, now granted, we saw a little bit of a delay last year, but I don't think it's as tight as it was. Connor Hall, who grabbed his 14th win of the year at Langley over the weekend. I think he's got another couple in other racetracks, of course, a Cars Tour win as well. I think it's all but his, but safe to say, I guess Doug Barnes is still there in second, but what do you think about the title race?
Yeah, I think Connor Hall's got it clinched. I think you're right in that assessment. I feel like the champions that we have seen in the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series have come from this region of the country, the Virginia region. The last several years, they've obviously had great car counts and good weather. You need to get a certain amount of events in to even have a shot at this championship. And with so many rainouts across the country this year, it's been hard. But they've been good with the weather, and then they've been good with car count, which is key to winning these championships. And obviously, he's been up front for 14 races, 14 wins, or 15 wins already this season. So he'll make a great national champion. Can't wait to talk with him once it is official.
Yep, that should be announced in a couple of weeks' time as we get to the end of the season. A little rapid fire here, K-Rick, a little reaction time for you. Sprung this one on you, a little bit of a surprise here. First thoughts, Dale Jr. at Bristol, first time since 2017 he's been there. What are the expectations for Jr. making his return to the Xfinity Series?
Well, I think they're always going to be for him to win. I think the realistic expectations are to finish on the lead lap, maybe. I think that would be at Bristol for an Xfinity race. What are the 250 laps? 12th, 13th. He's not in a car much. He doesn't have the reps that he once had. You mentioned it's been 6 years. So I think top 10 would be great. I think that would be a win, but I think a lead lap finish for Dale Jr. come Friday night would be I think a successful one event for this year.
That's fair.
Or two.
Especially other tracks like Martinsville. I mean, Bristol's a little bit more physically taxing. Obviously, things happen so quickly. It's fast. So rooting for Dale Jr., though, really cool to see him behind the wheel of the 88 Hellman Chevrolet coming up this weekend. All right, your reaction to post-Kansas. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. Contact on pit road. Elliott door slams him. Apparently, it's a non-issue. When does Hendrick Motorsports step in, or should they, Kyle? What do you think?
I think they've already stepped in. I think when everything went the way it did on Monday morning on the social medias, I'm assuming they stepped in. I heard Chase in an interview earlier this week say it's a non-issue. I think Kyle would probably say the same. They're apparently really close. I don't know. You would never know
Doesn't
that on
seem
Sunday
like that,
afternoon.
Kyle. It doesn't seem like that, though.
It doesn't. You would never guess that on Sunday. But I don't know. I think Chase is frustrated. Obviously he's here for the last 10 weeks of the season with, just one thing in mind, and that's winning races. And that's been hard for that team to do this year. There's really no other incentive, while everybody else is, at least, Kyle looking for that second championship. So I'm sure Chase is frustrated, and Kyle's equally as frustrated because, Chase is in that position and putting him in a bad position.
Final rapid-fire question for Kyle. This week, Noah Gragson was reinstated by NASCAR to resume to NASCAR-related or sanctioned activities. Obviously, maybe not going to quickly jump into a cup car, but will we see him before the end of the year?
I don't think so. Well, maybe. The silly season begins and has begun, but you see drivers getting comfortable with new rides for 2024. I don't know what's open, though. And this is a conversation I was having with somebody earlier today in the airport, just trying to figure out where he may end up, what series he may end up in. I personally think he'll probably be in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I don't want to guess where he may end up. I think there's a seat or two open, but I don't think we'll see him this year.
All right. There's still the 8-Kart Junior Motorsports comes to mind, but we'll see what happens.
That's one that comes to mind as well.
Noah, I think it could be planning on maybe running some late model races and things like that. Wants to get back in the seat, but at least for Noah, the first box is checked and is getting reinstated by NASCAR. And a shout out to Ryan Vargas, by the way, announced this week, a former grassroots racer, NASCAR roots racer in the late models, and he's been part-time the Xfinity and Truck Series. He's going to run the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series all the way in Germany in a couple weeks, and then the next day come back and run Talladega in the Craftsman Truck Series. Kyle, I've heard of the double, right? You have the Indy 500, the Coke 600. We've had drivers doing double duty at the same racetrack with different series, but has anybody done the cross the pond double the same race weekend? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I know Myatt Snyder has run over there, but solely over there, and Julia Landauer has run over there, but solely over there. I don't think anybody has done an American National Series and the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series within just a couple of days of each other. I love Ryan. I've known Ryan forever when he was racing out at the Las Vegas Bull Ring weekly. That's where I met him at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He would always make himself available, just trying to work his way into the garage about a decade or so ago. And he's done a nice job of that. And congratulations to Ryan on being able to put not one, but two pretty good deals together here later this month.
Yeah, he works so hard behind the scenes to put rides and opportunities together. I'm glad something came together for him. It's pretty cool, too, to get to say you ran a stock car over in Germany and then come back and go run Talladega. Two completely different racetracks, by the way, in terms of the style and the cars. So it'll be fun to watch. Again, that's September 23rd and 24th when Vargas makes the double. All right, couple big races coming up, Kyle, before we let our viewers go. The ARCA East finale is in your neck of the woods at Bristol Motor Speedway Thursday night, part of the doubleheader with the Craftsman Truck Series. It's down to two drivers, William Sawalich and Luke Fenhaus. Who do you have coming up, not only with the sword, but with the championship in the ARCA East?
Oh, boy.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
That's a good question. I like William. He's had good consistency all year in the season's first 7 events. He's running for Joe Gibbs Racing. They are great at the Bristol Motor Speedway. They've always had speed there, no matter what division, the trucks, the Xfinity, the Cup Series, and here in the ARCA Menard Series, they've run well the last couple of years as well. So it's hard not to pick William for the championship. I think Jesse Love gets win number 10, though, in the overall big picture scheme of things when the checker flag flies on Thursday night at Thunder Valley.
All right, interesting. But you're right about JGR. Sammy Smith picked up the win last year on his way to the title, or clinching the title. So that car can get it done. But, of course, Sean Hingarani, Landon Lewis, a couple ARCA West drivers are entered in this one with 32 cars in total. So should be a great race. Again, you can hear that on the Motor Racing Network and its affiliates nationwide, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. So hopefully right after you listen to this episode, just twist us on and go hear Kyle, Ricky, Dylan Welch, and the rest of the crew down there from Bristol. NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, Kyle, again, back to back, it feels like. They're back in action Saturday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The third time and the final time that we'll visit Riverhead Raceway up in Long Island this year. There's certainly a lot of favorites. Obviously, Austin Beers has ran well there before. But what do you think with the championship now coming down to the line? And, of course, this is a race that honors former track owner Eddie Partridge with the Eddie Partridge 256.
Well, I like Justin Bonsignore. He's got momentum on his side right now, coming off a win at a kind of similar racetrack, another quarter-mile oval with a little bit more banking last weekend at the Monadnock Speedway. Justin obviously grew up at Riverhead Raceway on Long Island, has double-digit wins there on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, one earlier this year. I think he's going to close even more on Ronnie Silk in a run for that championship this weekend.
All right, Saturday again, 4:30 Eastern, and then the ASA Stars National Tour takes a return trip, I guess, to Toledo for the first time since 2003, but the series has been off for quite some time. Ty Majeski's your point leader over Cole Butcher. Those two are entered. Jesse Love is also entered, and he finished second in the ARCA race at Toledo last year. So a lot of big names, including Bubba Pollard are in it, Blake Rowe, Gio Ruggiero, and other local favorites are in it. Again, big money, national slate for the super late models out there at the Glass City 200 at Toledo. Any other races we need to keep our eyes on, Kyle? I have championship at Thunder Road is coming up on Friday, also championship night at Hickory on Saturday.
Yeah, Thunder Road, Hickory, they wrap up this coming week. Let's see here. The Thompson Speedway in Connecticut, they were supposed to run this week. They were rained out, of course. I think, let's see, Stafford Speedway next week with the fall final. So, yeah, there's some big events coming up. I know things are beginning to button up on the West Coast as well with the Las Vegas Bull Ring and their final stretch of the season after taking a bit of a break in the month of August to kind of beat the 110-degree heat that's usually out there that time of year. So, a lot of short tracks across the country wrapping up their 2023 seasons, and look forward to talking to some of the champions here in the upcoming weeks of this show.
I know. It's going to be championship time before you know it. Also, Smart Tour is in action on Sunday if you like modifieds out there at Lonesome Pine. All right, well, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Whelen Engineering, and our guest, Carson Kvapil. Best of luck to you tonight at Bristol. Kyle Rickey, our fabulous turn announcers, about to get it done in the booth here at Bristol with Dylan Welch. Don't have too much fun. Send me some Snapchat filters, though, because for those of you who don't know, ask me about that later when you see me. For our producer, Pat Jaggers, though, my name's Chris Wilner. Thanks so much for tuning in to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering. On the road and in the air and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. 6 p.m. Eastern on MRN, it's the ARCA Menard Series and ARCA East. 8:30 p.m. airtime, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series playoff racing from Bristol. We'll have it all for you on MRN. Enjoy your weekend of racing, and we'll talk about it all next week.